This podcast discusses themes of mental health, which some people may find emotive, such as suicide or other adult-themed content. The information contained in this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. All views expressed are solely those of individuals involved and do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever with which we have been, are now, or will be affiliated. The information is not meant to diagnose or treat any mental health condition. If you're experiencing mental health symptoms, we encourage you to contact a mental health service within your community. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please seek the relevant support and interventions by presenting to your local accident and emergency department or contacting the relevant emergency services.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
Welcome to The Man Hug, the monthly men's mental health podcast. I'm Dean McShane.
I'm Ian Pearce-Hayes.
And I'm Conleth Kelly.
Each month we will discuss a different topic related to men's mental health, which will include a guest speaker who will discuss their own personal story. And each month we will also be showcasing an organisation or charity within the Merseyside area who work within mental health to help build your signposting skills. This month's theme is on Connectiveness, and we're joined by some great guests with us who are going to talk about their local initiatives and programmes. So we're really thrilled that we've got Colin Dolan and Lyon who are here from Liverpool Football Therapy. They'll be talking to us in a minute, and then we'll be joined by Daniel, who is here from Andy's Man Club, and he'll be telling us all about Andy's Man Club as well. So Colin and Matt, welcome to the Man Hug. So Colin, you started Liverpool Football Therapy in 2019 after experiencing firsthand how beneficial football was for your own mental health. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where it all came from.
Yeah, first of all, I've always been a footballer. I've played football all my life. It was always a sort of escape from everyday stress, whether it be work-related or family problems, whatever. Once I crossed the white line, I always became a different person, and it was always my escape from the realities of life and some of the hardships. But my mental health, well, I started really experiencing poor mental health in my very early 20s. I had a suicide attempt very early on, and I struggled to cope and come to terms with it and be open with people. Saw a doctor. I never followed it up, never took medication, didn't do anything. Many years later, when I was diagnosed bipolar, so I had my ups, I had my downs. The one escape I had was playing football on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, whatever it was. And after a recent bout, which when I say recent, I'm talking 12 years ago, a real bad bout of depression, which led to another suicide attempt, sadly. I was in hospital here in Liverpool. When I came out, I'd given up work, didn't know what to do, didn't know where to turn. And it was my partner who advised me to have a look at Everton in the Communities programme called Imagine Your Goals. Basically, from day one, just walking into that gym, which took me 3 attempts to get there, I have to say. And on the 3rd attempt, when I walked in, all I wanted to do was not make a fool of myself. I didn't want to get shown up on the football pitch. I always regarded myself as a decent player, and I didn't want to let myself down, and I didn't want to feel stupid. I had no way of knowing what the abilities were, what people's mental health needs were, where they were in their own journeys. But what I did find, within 15 minutes, I was just concentrating on football, and everything else went out of my head. So the depression sort of disappeared for a 2-hour session. That went on for years. Imagine Your Goals really showed me a way that I could communicate with other people on and off the pitch about mental health issues, about my own journey, but also it made me fitter, stronger, physically healthier, started giving me a social life again, and a good social life, not the old social life of 10 pints and 5 lines of coke. Totally different sort of life that I started leading. And from there, I was growing as a person, and I was evolving into the person I always wished I could be but never really had the guts to follow through with my own dreams. And in Imagine Your Goals really did support me 100%. The participants, the staff, everything about it was just, it seemed it's suited for me, but it was also suited for everyone else as well, every individual. But I thrived upon it, started doing public speaking around the country, telling my journey of how football had really helped me. But no disrespect to everyone in the community, because of the tie-in with Merseycare, they're restricted to who can actually attend the sessions. So it was only people that are referred through Merseycare. And as we all know, there are lots and lots of men and women out there who don't access the NHS when they're not feeling right. And I said, I was saying to myself, well, we need to reach out to these people as well. I got invited to a tournament in Italy. Cut a long story short, went to Italy, had a football tournament, had a great time, had £500 left over. And I went, if I don't do it now, I never will. So Liverpool Football Therapy was born from £500, booked a session at Goals for a Wednesday night, and it's just grown and grown and grown from then. From having some weeks 5 and 6 lads, 16 lads, to now, just in recent weeks, we're getting well in excess of 40 individual participants involved at some level of our football.
And this is men and women, isn't it?
It's all genders, yeah. We're open to all genders, all abilities, everyone over 18, regardless of what their mental health needs are or what difficulties are, whether they've been diagnosed or undiagnosed. And because we put it on at night as well, we're catching those people who have to go to work. They're working during the day, but they're not right. And there's no support network in place for those people. And they're definitely not going to go to the NHS because they'll lose their jobs. So we're there as a safety net for them. And it's evolved from having an idea of helping a few folk to what we've got now. We're helping, I think we've got 114 registered service users, our participants. They all play at different levels, different times. Thankfully, they don't all show up the same night, or I would just do a runner.
Yeah. Have you got enough bibs for 100?
Definitely not. But yeah, it's there to impact and improve the 4 key areas. So it's the physical well-being, the mental well-being, the social well-being, and the emotional well-being as well. If people walk away with a smile on their face and have had a good chat and a bit of exercise, I'm over the moon. Feedback's great, and I get to meet wonderful people like Matt as well. So it's excellent.
So how many sessions do you have a week at the moment then?
Currently we're at 2 a week. We have a Tuesday night session at Goals in Speak, and we have one on a Wednesday night at Goals in Netherton. We are hopefully going to have a third one, which will either be on Monday or Thursday, which is hopefully more central. If we get the right funding in, we will do it. I've certainly got the volunteers to take it on as well. So it's just down to money, nothing else. Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago when you were quite instrumental in just like the Mental Health FA and linking everyone who's doing these similar projects across the UK and, you know, as far as, you know, Queen's Park Rangers down in London right the way up to Scotland. There's a lot of football teams who are doing similar things within the community, aren't they? Yes. And you were trying to be that network and that database for everyone to be able to play each other and meet each other. And how are all like the tournaments and things going at the moment? Are you still?
I'm still involved. I don't particularly. We had the Mental Health Football Association, but it was never funded. It was all my spare time. I was organising tournaments up and down the country, and even if the likes of Doncaster Rovers Community Trust were organising a tournament, they'd contact me and I'd send all the invites out to all the mental health football organisations. So I did that for a long time. I still get involved in it, but we don't use the tagline Mental Health Football Association anymore, simply because, sadly, I was being abused. I was being taken for granted. But I made a lot of good friends over the years within that sector. But also as well, it's great feedback I get that there's so many, the likes of Partick Thistle and Queen's Park up in Scotland have got programmes going now. There's programmes all over England, Northern Ireland and Wales. And the only reason they've actually started it is because I was so upfront about how good it could be, particularly through social media. And then the Twitter account was, it was just non-stop. So I still do guidelines to help people that want to do it. We've got one coming up soon, Birmingham Football Therapy. So
Yeah.
someone's ready to launch that. We've already, as well as having Liverpool Football Therapy, someone started Blackpool, someone started Manchester. And I did say 10 years ago, I'd love to have a programme in every major city in town called, whatever town it is, Football Therapy. Slowly but surely, people are picking up on it. A lot of people want to have their own, they've got their own ideas and have their own names, but they're doing exactly what we do.
Exactly,
The exact same.
Yeah. So what if, for example, someone was at that point like yourself where maybe they don't know where to go, or maybe it seems a bit scary at first going to somewhere like this? What kind of advice would you give them to step over the door and attend, football therapy?
Yeah, well, one, it's scary. I've been there myself. That, as I said, when I first went to the Everton programme, it was only in Greenbank, and I live in Penny Lane. It's a 5-minute walk. It took me 3 attempts to actually walk through the doors. We've got participants that are with us now that have been with us a year, 2 years. There's some that have been there for 3 years, but it took them a long time after the initial contact. I'm more than happy to speak to people over the phone. I'm more than happy to go and meet people face to face to try and reassure them before they come, and reassure everyone that no matter when they join the programme, there's someone else got a similar journey, similar lived experiences, and they've always been the new guy or the new girl. Everyone's went through that. Matt, who has been he's a bit of a veteran now, been for quite some time, but I think when Matt probably backed me up on this, when he first came, didn't actually come to the pitch, and sat in the lounge.
Yeah.
But he's not the only one who's done that.
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
We've got people that have contacted me through social media that have taken 6 months to actually show up.
That's it.
But in that time, I've always been in contact with them, reassuring them that when they come, they'll be put at ease. There's no pressure. We don't keep scores. There's no pressure to play good football or score goals. It's just about having fun.
That's it. It's not about the football at the end of the day. It's about just being together with people who, have had similar experiences. When I used to run a project on the Wirral, I'll never forget this story where I had this lad who I'd worked with him for quite a few years and just trying to get him out of his house. And I was telling him every week about the football therapy. There was no pressure for him to come and play at our sessions. And eventually I got him to come with me in the car just to sit and watch, see what it's like. So he did. And then I'll never forget what he said on the drive home. He said, "So you're telling me they've all got what I've got?"
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't know what you were expecting, mate. Were you expecting them to all have purple spots or flashing lights on their head? He was laughing his head off, and he said, wow, he said, when you have sort of a severe mental illness, you think you're the only person in the world that's got it. And then when you actually see the numbers of people who are just like yourself and look like yourself and kick the ball the same way you do, he said it just normalised it for him. And then the week after he came, he played. And he came every week afterwards then. Yeah. And what it did for him was what you're just saying there. It was the forming other relationships with people. So I used to love it where, I'm collecting all the balls in the net at the end, but I'm listening to the guys talk about what medication they're on or what's worked for them or what you're doing at the weekend, and people would then go out and form these relationships and socialise for a weekend and things. And going back to our trusts and the people that would pay for it then, they used to want to know why we were doing these, why are you taking nurses away to go and play football, basically, and we'd be like, this is why. It keeps people out of hospital, and we used to just have to tell them all of the things that it did. And so much so, in the end, I made a video. It was when we went to that tournament in Doncaster, do you remember? And I was filming it.
You never filmed my goal, though.
I didn't, no. It was an overhead kick, wasn't it?
My famous goal.
Is that where you learned it from?
But with that, what I was doing, I was getting everyone that was there to say about why it was so powerful for them. And everyone had their own different take on it and their own different story. But about all at the end of the day, it was all about connectiveness, meeting new people and learning from each other, but having that support network, So yourself, Matt, what was the first thing that, made you realise how good this is and that you wanted to be a part of it?
It wasn't the first 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm going to say that because as Colin touched on before, first 2 weeks I travelled an hour and a half up to Netherton and sat in the corner, watched them all and went, oh my God. Everything that they were doing was everything that went through my head, the way they were either out loud or inward and stuff like that. But yeah, it was the 3rd week that I actually went, hi Colin, I'm Matt, and shaked over and shook his hand. It was definitely within the first couple of sessions that I actually played, and it was, I think Colin was coming back from a tournament and he got on the same bus as me going to the session, and I went, right, here's my card if you ever need me, here's one for this service, here's one for this service, here's one for this service. My phone's always on. If you need me, feel free to contact me. I was like, okay. And then, we started having conversations about medications, sat on the bus, and you could feel people turning to look, going, well, you're not supposed to do that. And just seeing people turn around and say, and you can see them thinking it, you're not supposed to do that. But people were just so open about it. I was just like, finally. So obviously you put your medication into Google and suddenly it's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst medication you can be on because it's got so many side effects. But it's like, well, if it's working, then it works, basically.
What keeps you going back then? What is it that you say most enjoyable about the sessions?
Oh, definitely some of the friends that I've made. Some of them are, we just have a laugh, and it can be about any topic. We'll have a laugh about it. Others, there's one lad who, similar age, both support Everton, both have anxiety and depression. So there's that bit of overlap of lives, basically. Is that in the past 7 to 10 days, I've been in I wouldn't say a very bad place, but in a quite bad place. And it's just a random message out of the blue that takes your mind off everything that you've been thinking about. And it was literally a message about he got the manager's job of PSG on Football Manager.
It's a big job.
And he was asking me what player he should bring from the club. And it was something as small as that made me stop thinking about how many pills do I need to take. Obviously, at the time, he had no idea of what was going through my mind, and it was just that. Obviously, it's all about being connected and stuff like that, and
it's like a family, isn't it? At the end of the day, you become you were saying there how nervous you were going in, and I suppose you're now looking for those people who are nervous to put an arm around them, and because you know what it was like, and support each other. So Matt, a few months ago we did a spin-off on Liverpool Football Therapy, and Matt was the only person that did all 10 sessions. I mean, Ian, who's a cyclist next to me, did well. He did a few. I think I did a few myself as well, but Matt did all 10, and I just can't believe the absolute stamina. And I went and did the Liverpool to Leeds Canal as a fundraiser last year for Liverpool Football Therapy, cycled it. But Matt's going even further than that. Tell us about your fundraiser, Matt.
So 27th of August, I've got an early start, going 145 miles from the Liverpool Museum, outside the live buildings, basically, to the Deep Museum in Hull.
Wow, coast to coast.
Yes, coast to coast in a day.
In a day.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I could cry. I did the Leeds to Liverpool in a day, and it's no mean feat. But what you're doing, I think it's absolutely incredible, mate. Honest to God, it's fantastic. And if anyone's out there who wants to sponsor Matt, please do go on Twitter. It's at LiverpoolFT_. Find Liverpool Football Therapy. There's loads of links on there, isn't there, Col, for people to donate. There's other events coming up. We've got a 24-hour football match coming up as well.
We have, the 24-hour football match is being hosted by your good friends at Liverpool, John Mills, on the 3rd of July. No idea how many people are going to be involved. Target is to try and raise £3,000, but we're hoping to have a few special guests come along, do a couple of hours of football along with us as well. The big plan is to do it in fancy dress, just to
make it even easier.
Just to try and make it a bit different. But it's amazing when we come up with sort of fundraising ideas. Sometimes it takes a bit of time for people to become enthusiastic about it, but I have a push and shove often enough, nudge often enough, we'll get people on board to do it. So
you've had some pretty popular and famous supporters of Liverpool Football Therapy over the years as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we've got there's two ex players that really do push the work we do, and they have done for a long time now. Both goalkeepers. I don't know what it is between goalkeepers and ex pros. It's amazing. But Big Neville Southall's always promoting the work we do. Yeah. He's been a good mate of mine for many, many years. And in more recent times, we've had Chris Kirtland come on board as well.
Yeah, he was our guest last month, Chris.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's always promoting our work. He's always putting a good word in for us. We've had the likes of Jamie Carragher and that, and doing a bit of promotion. And our mayor as well, Steve Rotherham's always there behind us, giving us as much support as he can in the way of promoting what we do and what we stand for.
And I think this is the important thing, because Liverpool Football Therapy, it's not funded, is it? You know, haven't got a regular stream, so it does heavily rely on people like Matt and myself and other people who want to fundraise. So if you're doing the next London Marathon or the next jump out of an airplane or whatever, do consider Liverpool Football Therapy, because, as I say, you can see how many people call 114 lives. It's changing. That's you know that's incredible, and it can only get better. It can only go bigger, can't it? You know, with the more money and more funding, there'll be more sessions, etc. So do whatever you can for it. Get out there and back them. But Matt, good luck with your cycle. I think it's absolutely incredible. And again, people, get out there and sponsor him. But support him on the way as well. Yeah, we might have some people with some foghorns on the way supporting you, and will it be a big party at the finish line?
We're planning something. We're going to a party. They just need a cuddle.
Yeah,
definitely.
A cuddle. Yeah.
Definitely need a bed.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said cuddle. I mean hug.
Yeah, man hug at the end.
Hug. Proper man hug.
Brilliant, thanks very much. Any questions you want to ask?
Well, I did have one question, but you took it away from me, really. I was actually really disappointed. The FA, they don't help you out at all, or
they're supportive financially. No, they're not. We haven't. We're in the process of becoming. We run as a charity, but we don't have a registered charity number, and I'm going through all the loops, crossing the T's and dotting the I's to eventually get that sorted. But I'm doing all that in my spare time.
Yeah.
But we will get there eventually. It makes it a little bit easier to get in funding. But majority of the money has come in for ourselves over the years. We had little pockets of funding here and there. Participants pay a couple of £2 at each session. Yeah. We've got a great sponsor with the First Person Project with Matty and the lads and the girls there. They've been really helpful. And then it's down to fundraising events like Dean did, and there's other people that have been involved in these ones as well. But the big pocket of money will come, but it just takes time.
It's just annoying, because you said about Ireland there, you should probably wear get the Gaelic Athletic Association over GA, so the players on the pitch, they're not getting paid, I don't know, $500,000 a week or things like that, whatever. They all got jobs, whatever. So all the money, don't worry, people do get paid, but the money's going back into the community. And it's just that I was on to my cousin there, was it last week, and she's reaching I won't say anything, but she's reaching a milestone birthday. And she's joined, all the girls are all, over a certain age, they're Gaelic football, they're all playing there, doing training sessions a whole lot, and there's a picture of them, there's about maybe 100 of them all there, and it's all supported within the community, and it's all, the funding's there, everything's all there. It's just disappointing, that side of it, that's all, for yourself. But
I've come to accept it. It's just one of those things. I maybe sometimes have to push myself a bit more to try and get the money in, but it's not easy. It's not easy getting the funding in. Not easy at all. You have to go through quite a few hoops to qualify for funding and that. So, but I'm willing to put the time and the effort into to make sure that we get that.
You want more than, definitely.
Thanks so much, both of you, for coming in and talking. And obviously, Colin, talking about your own story. It's such a powerful story, but to see how you're helping so many people now is absolutely incredible. And it's a credit to yourself. And if anyone is listening and they want to get involved, or someone that would benefit from coming and joining Liverpool Football Therapy, what's the best way how they can do that?
Easiest way to find us is either through Facebook or Twitter. You only have to Google Liverpool Football Therapy, and up will come all sorts of ways of contacting us. Anyone, doesn't matter, as I say earlier, regardless of your ability, doesn't matter if you haven't played football for 20 years or you're 10 stone overweight. If you're over 18 and you've got any form of struggle mentally whatsoever, It's the place to be. There's no waiting list. There's no referrals. There's no judgment whatsoever. And we are not about what we do on the pitch. The most important part of Liverpool Football Therapy is what happens outside of the pitch.
Nice. There you go.
Always.
I couldn't have sold it any better myself. Absolutely incredible. Cheers. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
So thank you very much for Colin and Matt. It's that part of the podcast now where us, the hosts, have a chat about the theme of the podcast. Sadly, we are one man down this month as Dan could not be with us. So the Fab Four has become the Frail Three. We miss you, Dan, and we feel a bit like the Beatles without Lennon. I won't say which one of us is Ringo, by the way. So the theme this month is Connectiveness, in which we have heard from Colin and Matt. And we'll soon be hearing from Daniel from Andy's Man Club about being part of something within the community which helps with elements of well-being. So connectiveness is a recently coined word that refers to the quality or quantity of a person's connections to others, either personally or online. And believe it or not, we are actually social beings. Now, here's my brain bit here. As you all know, I love a good bit of neurotransmitter talk. So a study from Stanford University School of Medicine, the researchers found that oxytocin, which is known as the love hormone because of its important role in the formation and maintenance of bonding and sexual attachment, it's actually involved in a much broader range of social connections. So the researchers discovered that oxytocin released through any type of social connectivity triggers the release of serotonin. In a chain reaction, the serotonin then activates the reward circuitry of the nucleus, resulting in this lovely happy feeling that we get. Now, one of the problems of modern living in a Facebook age is that many of us feel isolated because our social network exists in cyberspace, which causes our biology to short circuit. Now, oxytocin is typically linked to that warm, fuzzy feeling and shown in some research to lower stress and anxiety. Oxytocin has the power to regulate our emotional responses, including trust, empathy, positive memories, and positive communication. We actually produce oxytocin when we hold hands, so we might do that in a minute, boys. Or if we pet a furry animal like a puppy or a kitten, and I'm sure we produce it here on the Man Hug every time we have a big old group hug at the end of each podcast. Now, as hunter-gatherers, early humans travelled in small bands and lived in groups, and it's believed that group living preceded the emergence of living as a pair by about 35 million years. The Stanford study suggests that oxytocin's role in one-on-one bonding probably evolved from an existing broader affinity for group living. So as I say, we are social beings. People may be familiar with the UK mental health charity Mind, and they created the 5 ways of well-being, and number 1 is connect. So they state that connecting with others can help us feel close to people. It can help us feel valued for who we are. Now, being social means different things for different people. So you might prefer being in quieter situations with one other person, or you might like being in big groups. You might like to connect with people online, or you might enjoy phone calls or sending letters. So please never underestimate the power of connecting with others. And if you know anyone who may be lonely, make sure you look for what groups they can get involved in based on their interests within their own communities. Now over to our resident stato, Conleth, who is going to give us some statistics on connecting and loneliness.
So if I'm stato, you two, Frank Skinner and David Baddiel from the show, whatever.
I'll happily be Frank Skinner.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I've got some stats, and I'm keeping an eye on Ian, making sure his hands are above the desk, because if you don't get that joke, you have to listen to episode 2. Okay. But whenever we actually do look at loneliness, things like that regarding that connectiveness and social isolation, it is across all generations, it's across all genders, because a lot of us probably think, oh, maybe the older population, it's going to be within that. And some of the research I actually have got, some of the statistics I have got are from Age UK. But obviously we've also had this major thing happen there not that long ago. We're still living through it as well, the COVID pandemic. And this has actually really accentuated a lot of the issues we actually have regarding loneliness, that social isolation issue. So Age UK actually says 1 in 12 people aged 50 and over in England actually often felt lonely. And the Age UK actually project that this will actually go to 2 million by 2026. There are issues regarding ethnicity with regards to the issues regarding, keep saying regarding, into the isolation, the social isolation, and the research actually says that around 27%, a quarter of Black and South Asian older people have actually experienced an increase within this as well. And the other thing as well, we also got to think seasonally as well. We've got Christmas coming up as well. It's Dean, 184 sleeps until Christmas at the time of recording. Okay, I'm not saying shopping days because Sunday should not be a shopping day, but we all do it anyway. But just as we said, this is man hug that we actually are looking at here. And the US has actually found that as we get older, especially with men, a US research actually found that men have fewer social ties than they used to, with just 27% actually saying they have at least 6 close friends. In 1990, this figure was 55%. During that period, the number of men reporting no close friendships has actually risen from 3 to 15%. In the UK, research by the Movember Foundation in 2018 found 20% of men said they had no close friendships at all. They also found that friendships become less strong as men get older, and 22% of men over the age of 55 and over saying they never see their friends. It would seem that there is, for men, an issue of a friendship recession. And Dr. Robin Dunbar from Cambridge University, an anthropologist and evolutionary psychologist, has actually said that men and women's friendships are actually different. Women's friendships tend to be personalised and didactic. They're actually saying important things. Men's friendships are clubby, and we have kind of touched those things as well, like regarding the likes of the football, and in some sense it can be actually quite anonymous as well. It matters more than who you are. In other words, do you belong to my actual club? And that actually qualifies that if you're actual friends. But one of the things we've actually seen, we've actually heard from the podcast is that all these barriers are breaking down. Yes, it's great we actually have these football therapy clubs. It's not about the football. It's all about what happens afterwards. So we have to bear those things in mind. But what Robin Dunbar has actually said, a lot of men's friendships seem to be built around activities, so conversation is actually quite unimportant and largely designed to trigger laughter as much as anything else. Men don't do deep emotional discussion about friendships, and that's the thing we got to want to change with it in regards to this. Ian, you said you got a couple of things there?
Yeah, I guess just that in terms of we're talking about connectiveness and loneliness. And one of the things that that I've looked into is about the effects of long-term loneliness, with it being damaging to your health. And it's actually a study that's come out in the Netherlands, which actually equates loneliness to the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day, in terms of making that analogy with physical health. And what they're saying is that if you're insecure, if you're afraid, that need for connection and for contact really is big in that sense. And they go on to say that long-term loneliness therefore is that equivalent in terms of smoking, or as damaging as smoking to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And of course what they mean in terms of their own definition in terms of loneliness is that context that's negative. It's about loss and disappointment, and where that can be very sort of personal and subjective. That feeling of loneliness relate to what Dean mentioned earlier about that we are social animals, and I think that for me that's really important. Another thing that Dean said is that for most of the time that we've been humans and a species, we've lived in hunter and gatherer, egalitarian societies or groups, that there has been this connectedness within it, and without it we struggle. And I guess it's been talked about for us in terms of that idea. I do think it's political, and I don't mean political in terms of red, blue, any terms. I just mean in terms of the politics. Glenda Jackson died last week. She was a fantastic actress and also a politician. One of the things why she's probably not a national treasure is because she spoke her mind. And when Margaret Thatcher died, her speech in Parliament, which she made as an MP, and if you remember, Margaret Thatcher actually said about we're not There is no such thing as a society. We're individual men and we're individual women. And what Glenda Jackson picked up on for that, for me, was that this idea that it was about, what she was about greed and about selfishness. And I think for me, that idea of us as social animals is really important, because it's that connection, and that's what is being found now in terms of some research, where they've actually been looking at this, what's called collective neuroscience, and they've actually been mapping the synchrony that actually takes place in the different parts of the brain, getting back to Dean's earlier part in terms of the auditory cortex and in the temporal lobe, that have actually matched where people have, in terms of conversation, things that they've witnessed, that the same parts of the brain actually light up. And I think it would be easy to actually say about that, well, that's just people just having the same and sharing the same experiences. But that actually, what the researchers are saying is that it's not as simple as that in terms of those experiences. That actually they're finding, the researchers saying that synchrony, and within other species, that mapping, that choreography, the rhythm, they're finding evidence, the benefits that gives us, and that idea of us as hunter-gatherers, what they think in terms of, it's the development of tools, it's the development of that social intelligence, the social interaction, language, and it's the benefits of that in terms of that interaction, that are markers for relationships, which you can see without it, why we do so poorly and why it's such a negative effect. So I think for me, we need more research to find that and to look at the benefits from that, about why it's so enjoyable, why relationships are so beneficial. It's that helps us interact. And for me, it's about that social intelligence, and that's what we must do, I think, for, to stop the suicides, the negative aspects of loneliness, that actually looking at the benefits that we bring, and we are social animals.
Really, thanks, Ian. And I think, just to recap on all of that, there's some horrible statistics there, especially about what Conleth was saying to do with men who have a high percentage of men who don't have friends, basically, and they don't have that social circle. One of the big things from this podcast that I've taken already from listening to Colin and Matt, and what we'll soon listen from Daniel, is that there is a lot of support out there, often people who've experienced the same as what you've experienced. And from sharing things together, that's where these friendships often form. Putting my mental health nurse hat on, I've seen this for years and years in the community, where people will come to a group, whether it's a music group, a football group, an allotment group, walking group. It's not about the activity at the end of the day. It is about the forming of new social networks. Now, with your new social network, you can go off and do totally anything that you want, but it's adding a new name to your phone list. It is having someone else there when things do get bad. So honestly, please, just if you take anything from today, we always promote the Hub of Hope on this podcast. Have a look what's in your area, whether that's a group who meet in a local church down the road, or a local football stadium, or a cafe, or whatever it is. And if you know that someone would benefit from it, just keep encouraging them to go and try it. You're going to hear from three very brave people here today in Colin, Matt and Daniel, who have all been scared. They have all been frightened. They've took the leap. They've gone and done something. And it's been so rewarding for them, so much so it's changed their life. And now you're hearing how they're changing other people's lives as well. So we're going to, after this short break, we're going to have Daniel from Andy's Man Club.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
Okay, we are now joined with Daniel Roche, who is one of the volunteers with Andy's Man Club. Andy's Man Club is a UK charitable organisation described as a talking group, a place for men to come together in a safe environment to talk about issues and problems they have faced or are currently facing. So Daniel's going to tell us a little bit about Andy's Man Club that exists here in Liverpool, and a little bit about his own experience as well. So welcome, Daniel.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, mate. So a lot of people might have heard of Andy's Man Club as it is a national organisation, isn't it? But just tell us a little bit about how you got involved yourself and what it actually does.
How I got involved with it myself was I was struggling with my own mental health for one reason or another. I was using a service at the time, and I felt like it was time for me to move on elsewhere. I looked about and found it on social media. I know everyone says that social media has its bad points, and I'm one that says it does have its good points as well. I'm proof of it. So yeah, I found them, and yeah, I went down. Must have walked through the doors with a friend, probably about April of last year, not this year, just gone. And yeah, it just felt right when I walked through the doors.
Yeah. And on your T-shirt now, you've got an Andy's Man Club one on, and it says #It's okay to talk. And I suppose that's kind of the philosophy, isn't it? Is getting men together to say, do you know what, it's okay to not be okay, and let's just talk about it, really. So what types of things do you do if you go to Andy's Man Club?
Yeah, so what the premise, if I'm using the right word there, is, yeah, you just, it's a non-judgmental environment. You go there, any man over the age of 18 is allowed to go down there. It really is, it's a peer-to-peer support group, so everyone sort of gets fearful when they hear words like that, and you imagine yourself in a circle. It is that, but I can assure you it's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. I'm a man sitting here now, and I could tell you that, say 5 years ago, if someone had said to me you'd be sitting in a room full of men, potentially bearing your soul to them, I'd have told you no way. Yeah. But I can honestly say that in the ones that I've been part of in Liverpool, which there's 2 at the moment, due to be another one that's opening in Southport on the 3rd of July. Yeah, it really is a safe environment to just bare your soul.
Brilliant. So what types of things would you do if you went there? So if someone's considering going, what would you expect from it?
So you're met by friendly faces at the door. You go in. It's every Monday, except for bank holidays, 7 till about 9 o'clock. You'd get there ideally about 6:45. As I say, met by a friendly face. You go in. So if you're lucky enough, someone might make you a cup of tea or a cup of coffee the first time, and then after then you're expected to make your own. You'll grab some biscuits or whatever's your preference to dunk or whatever. Yeah, and then you'll just you go in, and it's based on 5 questions really. After a little brief introduction. The first question, simple, just how's your week been? Yeah. Second question, positive from your week. Third question, which is the big one, is anything to get off your chest. So that can be, often it's something negative. It can be a really heartfelt time, that question. And yet it does get very deep sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't. And then you have a brief little break again, time for a tea, coffee, dunk your biscuit again, which is all free. And then you come back for the second part, and it tends to be 2 questions sent down from Halifax. Just can lighten the mood. Can be anything from what's your favourite song, to what's your favourite biscuit, to dunk in your coffee or your tea.
There's a lot of biscuits going on.
As simple as that, mate. And this is, it genuinely, you go on the website, and it pretty much is everything that it says on there. There's not many rules. The only 3 rules that you have is we don't talk about politics, religion or medication, because it can spiral out of control. And who are we to tell you, what's good for one and what's not good for one or whatever. We wouldn't want to put you off. We're not professionals or nothing. So yeah, and that's pretty much it.
That's brilliant. I love that fact that there's 5 questions, because people might be saving up all of that all week, mightn't they? Thinking that they know that they've got that coming. Definitely. And it can be like a release valve,
Yeah. I must get in for you though, Dean, as well. I mean, you've probably seen now the ball. I've brought the ball with me. Yeah. It comes with me. It's in the boot of my car. I even take it round to, like, at certain times when I'm not busy, I'll plop it next to a statue or something in town and take a photograph of it and send it to the group, the email site or whatever. The ball is your microphone. Brilliant. And you're not under no obligation to speak. You can pass the ball at any point. There's been people there who you can pass the ball one question, two question, you can pass the ball for a week, come back the next week, speak. It can go on for months, it can go on for years, and no one speaks, but it is really better if you do get stuff off your chest, and you know, it is said that men don't speak, and I can guarantee you if anyone needs to come down to AMC, pretty much it's wrong. You provide men with the right environment to talk, where they can build up trust, and they're not judged. Men do speak again in the right environment.
Yeah, definitely, and you're right. Yeah, I think you've created that right environment. So, how would people, if you know they want to go to Andy's Man Club, or if they've got a friend or family member that they can talk to about it, how's the best way for them to find out about where the Andy's Man Club is in their area, for example?
Yeah, so we talked about briefly before, I don't know whether it was off air or on air, about the Hub of Hope we are on the Hub of Hope. But you just go on the website, it's even one of them things where you just type in your postcode, and it'll come up where your local AMCs are. Again, it's you don't have to be referred, it's self-referral. And you just come down and that's pretty much that, and you take it in your stride and see what comes from it.
Yeah, fantastic. In terms of it being sort of a set time once a week, have you found personally that people form friendships, so they're able to do other things throughout the week? You know, because with it being once a week, for some people that might be the only time where they actually get out the house, mightn't it? You know, so
so we've actually got a good connection with a guy called Anthony Grice, who runs Fika Coffee Shop. He's got 2 shops at the moment, one on Walton Road.
Did they do nice biscuits as well?
Oh, they do. Oh, his cakes are unbelievable, and the salt and pepper sausage rolls are definitely worth travelling 30 or 40 miles for, if I'm honest. Like, but he started. We made a connection with him last year, just through a chance meeting through one of the other facilitators, really. And he did a walk every Wednesday from his coffee shop down on the riverside, walking the beautiful views of the city of Liverpool, just walking along the waterfront to the back of the Liver buildings, and then back to his coffee shop. And then we literally started one because there was such a demand for it. We started one ourselves on a Friday night, and some really good conversations happened from that as well. And you know, it's like you build up that rapport with someone on the Monday night, and then when you see them again on a Wednesday and a Friday, it's, you know, as you said, Dean, the bonds that you make and the friendships that you make along the way. I can only say through, like, I've met people in Sean's place where I got my help from and my support from at the very early stages, and now from Andy's Man Club I've got brothers and extended family for life now. Really good friendships that have formed there, and really, you know, obviously we haven't really touched upon my struggles yet, but I'm a massive believer in the fact that, you know, everyone's got a story to tell, especially people who are, you know, in these mental health support environments or whatever. And if me speaking is someone else's blueprint to help them get through similar times, then I'm all for it. So yeah.
Amazing. And I think, you know, I think that's why we picked connectiveness for this theme for this podcast this month. We heard from Colin and Matt before about how it's not just about the actual activity, it's what it causes and what it leads to. So, you know, you just said there, I got goosebumps when you said, you know, I've got brothers and family now from this, and I think that is so powerful. And I think when we listened to Colin and Matt before, exactly the same. You know, once you're in an environment with people who've experienced what you have, it does open up that connectiveness level, doesn't it? Because they're not people who, you know, in the healthcare world who have learned it from a book. They've got first-hand experience of what it feels like for that situation, and from it, these amazing relationships are formed.
Definitely, Dean. I mean, you know, it's one thing to for these companies, that your organisations, charities, whatever it is, to be set up by people, you know, whose brothers or sons or whatever, but, you know, such tragic stories, you know, and brilliant that they're able. It's just sad to me that, like, it's taken someone to us to lose someone in order for these places to be created. And like you've just said there, that the best people, you know, to really get men to speak is other men. So when you have other men that are at the forefront of you know, volunteering and, you know, facilitating as I do, and the other, you know, 900 plus men across the country, at AMC. That's how you're gonna get results, and you're gonna get valid results. Because it just I with my own struggles, I was psychologically abused by my ex-partner. Didn't realise till obviously I had to do my own healing. And I had an email, a really long email, paragraphs and paragraphs, sent down to a place in London, which was the closest place. Now, this was just as we were coming out of COVID. And that was a place called the Echo Society down in London. And I never got no response, no email back, which it may have got there, it may not have got there, who knows. But that same email was sent to Sean's place. They answered me email. So I've got a lot of, obviously, I mentioned to you guys earlier on, I'd done a charity skydive for them last year, which was great. Obviously, you know, I ended up needing to go elsewhere because I felt my healing was going in a different direction, and I felt like I needed to move on. And that's, as I say, that's when I found Andy's Man Club. But it's just really to know that you can pour your heart out into a letter or an email and not get no response. That's just proof that, you know, there's more places that are needed to be able to respond to these emails and be able to, you know, I shouldn't be having to email someone down in London, do you know what I mean? And yeah,
that's it. And I think, you know, going back to what Colin was saying earlier on, it's ran by people who've got that experience, who then know what it's like to not have the help when it's needed, you know. So so powerful. Why do you think Andy's Man Club works so well? Because I've followed them for years on social media, and I've been fortunate enough to go to a couple of sessions within rugby communities where it seems to be quite popular. Like, you know, in the Northwest, we've got like Wigan and Widnes and St Helens and a lot of sort of like rugby towns. Why does it work? What's its magic formula?
The biscuits.
There we go.
No, I'm joking. It's just the fact that, look, it's self-referral. You don't have to go through anyone. I mean, it's been great lately, to be honest with you, because we've had people where, you know, obviously what another thing what we say in Andy's Man Club is, Ben, my fellow facilitator at AMC Crosby, he says it's a bit like Fight Club. What happens in the room stays in the room. Yeah. I don't use that. I use what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. As when we walk through the doors, it's Vegas. But yeah, so you literally, you are left with that feeling. You know, it's confidential. Whatever happens in the room stays in the room. This is drummed into people because who knows whether, you know, unfortunately, there is still this stigma around men's mental health, mental health in general, but men's mental health even more so. So no one knows whether you've told family members or not that you come to this group. So just for that sort of safety net, you say whatever happens in the room stays in the room. So it's just the fact that, Tina, I can't stress enough that it's men. It's a group ran by men. And facilitated by men, and that's the only way that you're going to get results.
Brilliant. Yeah, amazing. And I think as well, you know, on top of that, you've got this safe space for men to go, but they don't even have to talk about their mental health, do they? In that sense, you don't have to mention that. That's not the problem at all. It's not the mental health, the mental illness. It's that people are there for company and interaction, but also as well maybe that safe space where this could be the first time we've ever spoken to anyone about anything that's a burning issue as well.
Definitely. You know? Do you know what as well, Dean? It's important that you say it's not just about the talking. Sometimes that story, without them talking, the story, somebody else's story, might make a hell of a lot of difference for them to know that they're not the only pebble on the beach. They're not the only one that's going through this storm, and you can go through it. And I don't claim to be, you know, I've been doing this for 2 years, been around men's mental health. I don't claim to be, I know all the answers or whatever, but I'm lived experience through the stories that I've witnessed in Sean's place, through men who I'm really close to, again in Andy's Man Club. And it's someone else's story can help you. It'll just set a light off. And to know that you're not the only one and you're not alone, and you say, you know, the things that we've formed away from the you know, the Monday. It's a shame it can't be more than a Monday. I've used the word product before, but I don't like using that. But if you've got something that works, why change it? So they've got that right on a Monday night. It's absolutely brilliant. but you're left to whatever connections you make. If you want to build friendships, you build friendships and then go away and go for tea, go for coffee, go for a game of pool, game of darts, go to pitches, whatever it may be. You form friendships there, and this can be, it can make the conversations that you have in them walls, wherever it may be, up and down the country, between 7 and 9, the hope that it makes the conversations that you have at home with other relationships, it can make them conversations a bit better, because if you can't get it out in a room full of men, you know, where can you get it out? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, amazing. So just a final big plug for it then. So andysmanclub.co.uk is the website, isn't it? So people can go on there, and as you said, you can type in their postcode and see where their closest Andy Man Club is as well. If, for example, there isn't one in their area, can they set one up, for example?
Yeah, well, you just have to go on the link and stuff like that. Obviously, we've got 2 lads. Unfortunately, again, it comes from a tragic story, but we've had a group of lads, 3 of them in particular, Steve, Joey and Ben. They came down probably about 3 months ago, don't quote me on that. They just lost their friend Robbie through suicide. And they literally found out about Andy's Man Club within a couple of days. And they come down to Crosby, and they literally done pretty much all the groundwork themselves, and forced it, really pushed the issue, made the connections, and they're opening theirs in Southport with the help of Southport Football Club. And as I said before, that's opening on the 3rd of July. So yeah, you know, there'll be 3 on Merseyside. There is a little bit of probably a lot of push for one to happen on the Whittle. I know Ben Whittle from Crosby AMC, he's really, that's what he's got in his sights to sort of push for one over there. But yeah, you know, there is call for AMCs, but not just AMCs, also other places there needs to be. I'm a massive believer in the Paul Lavelle Foundation over the water. You know, I've got nothing but love for them over there, and they could really do with being one of them over this side of the city, across the pond. Yeah,
we've got Paul Lavelle Foundation coming on in one of our future podcasts as well, which is great. We'll tell you more about that as well. But thanks so much, Daniel, and in particular, you know, you've touched on your own story, which is never an easy thing to do. But honestly, we can't thank you enough. And Andy's Man Club, you know, you couldn't have sold any better. It sounds like an amazing place. The best biscuits in town, clearly, you know. So if anyone is out there and they're thinking, actually, you know, I could do with some of this and go and attend one of the sessions, then please do. And you can check them out on Twitter as well. It's at Andy's Man Club UK. Thanks again, Daniel.
No, thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thanks very much, Daniel. Cheers, mate.
If you or anybody else you know is struggling with their mental health, visit hubofhope.co.uk or download the app today and find local and national mental health support.
Please make sure that you follow us on Twitter. It's @TheManHug. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next month.